Hello and welcome back, adventurers. This is Captain TTRPG, and today we're talking about Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Hello and welcome back, adventurers. Today, we're going to stop performing and instead find the light with religion. Religion is, of course, all about understanding the deities and their effects on the world and everything that we can do with it to help channel that through ourselves and understand it better each and every day. We have 1 untrained and 3 trained actions with religion at level 1. So let's go ahead and dive into those, talk about what they are, and then we'll get into the feats themselves that then support them. All of our actions here we've seen with other skills before. So for our untrained action, we have recall knowledge. Of course, I've talked about this a whole lot. I think it's very valuable. Now, as far as recall knowledge here, we get to recall knowledge against fiends, undead, creatures like that, tied to the afterlife, tied to death and life, angels. So they do come up a fair amount, especially undead, I think are pretty common in a lot of games. So recall knowledge with religion actually can be very helpful. As far as our trained actions go, we have decipher writing. This is a check to see, something that's written down, reading a certain book. This is for things like proverbs, hymns, and homilies as well. And it takes 1 minute per page, as it did with the other skills. We have identify magic. This takes 10 minutes, and this is for divine magics and spells. So this is so you can identify those magics. Then we have learn a spell. This takes 1 hour per spell rank to add a spell through learning it. And this is, of course, for the divine tradition of spells. I didn't want to go too deep on those because we've talked about them before, but they'll still come up. And of course, we'll talk about them a little bit here. We have a lot of feats here, but some of them are repeats. So I'll try to mention when they are repeats and when they are unique to religion. Starting off with Pilgrim's Token. This is unique. Level 1, trained. You have to have a religion that you follow. So you have to have a specific religion you're tied to. You then have an item, a religious symbol or something like that. And as long as it's on your person, it means that you get to go first if you tie an enemy in your initiative rolls. Now keep in mind, the way that all of the numbers play out here, you're often right there with enemies in initiative order. And the way that the system works, if a player and an enemy tie on initiative, the enemy always goes first. This says, no, I get to go first. It doesn't sound big, but it can mean the difference between you going first or that crazy enemy who's going to crush you going first. So it might be something you want to think about. Quick identification, this is not unique. Level 1, trained in religion. It takes 1 minute to identify magic rather than 10. It takes 3 actions if you're master and only 1 action if you're legendary. So if you're identifying a lot of magic, may be useful. Recognize spell, level 1, trained. And this is a reaction, also not unique. So this is a secret check that's made to see if you recognize the spell that was cast. You have guaranteed success for level 2 spells and lower, as long as you're trained here. And then as you go up in proficiency, you can identify different levels. And if you crit succeed, you get a +1 on your save against the spell. So if you actually are recognizing spells, cool. Now you actually get to have a better save against the spell. Reveal true name. This is rare, level 1. You take trained in intimidation and religion, or, could be one of the other magics. So it's not unique. This is 2 actions. You try to intimidate a creature into your bidding by speaking its true name and giving it a command. If you even just succeed, it will do your bidding out of fear, but it won't be your friend afterward. Yeah, they're not doing it because they like you. Then we have Student of the Canon, level 1, trained. If you crit fail a religion check to decipher religious writings or to recall knowledge about tenets related to religion, you fail instead. If you recall knowledge about your own religion tenets, you always get 1 better than whatever the dice says. So you're likely to crit succeed at recalling knowledge about things, tenets to do with your religion. Then there's trick magic item, level 1, trained in Arcana or any other. So in this case, it's obviously for us, religion, and means it's not unique. This is 1 action, and you try to use a magic item that you normally couldn't, like a wand, for instance, as a monk. The magic item must then have the religion trait in this case, or contain a spell on the divine spell list if you want to use religion in order to trick it. If you succeed, you can use the item. Assured identification. Level 2 takes expert in arcana, religion, occultism, whatever. You can't critically fail to identify magic, and you won't miss the fact that an item is cursed when you succeed to identify a cursed item. It's good to know that it is cursed when you identify. Then we have Exhort the Faithful. This is specific to religion. Level 2 requires expert, and you have to have a religion that you follow. When you coerce or request from other followers of that religion, you get a +2 circumstance bonus to your check. Magical Shorthand, level 2. This is expert in religion or any of the other magics. This is a massive boost to learn a spell activity, so it's faster, cheaper, and you can get better successes with less severe failures. Magical Shorthand is a great way if you're going to be learning spells a lot. Then we have Sanctify Water. Level 2 requires expert in religion, 1 action, and a deity with the holy or unholy sanctification. You can turn a light bulk container of water into holy water or unholy water until the end of your next turn. For master, this is 2 containers, and legendary, this is 3. And when you throw this, like say you take holy water and hit a creature that has the unholy trait, they're going to take damage from it, which is very cool. So you're kind of making water bombs. Next, we have Crichton's Cognitive Crossover, which is uncommon. You're going to choose 2 skills of religion, arcana, occultism, nature. When you fail to gain knowledge with recall knowledge, you can try with the other skill you chose instead. So let's say you're against a creature that you could be using either religion or occultism for. You choose both of those. You fail with one, you get to try with the other. Kind of nice in case you just get. It's almost like having advantage on the roll. Battle Prayer. This is level 7, requires master now, and is religion specific. You have to have a deity, so 1 action here. You choose good, evil, chaos, or law, keeping in mind this is a pre-master, so those aren't a thing anymore. I'll talk about that in a second. This must match your deity, by the way, whatever you choose. Then you make a religion check against the will DC of 1 foe in 30 feet. The creature is immune for 1 day after you use it. If you critically succeed, you deal 2d6 alignment damage, or 6d6 alignment damage if you're legendary to the creature. On a success, you deal 1d6 alignment damage, or 3d6 if you're legendary. If you fail, nothing happens, and if you crit fail, you can't use this action again for 10 minutes. Now again, good, evil, chaos, law, those went away with the remaster, but we still have some very similar things here, right? Vitality and Void. Probably just go on that side with it. And plus we have the holy and unholy sanctifications. Maybe just lean into those instead, right? So you've got some options here. Battle Prayer can still work. It's just takes a little reworking and talking with the GM. Then we have Break Curse. Level 7 requires master in religion. You spend 8 hours trying to help break a curse. At the end, you make a check. Now remember, this was occultism, had this as well, so it's not unique, but for this case, you make the religion check to see if you counteract it, with half your level added to the check for the counteracting. This only takes, though, 10 minutes if you're legendary. And a change from 8 hours to 10 minutes is crazy, because 10 minutes you might be able to do on an adventure between combats. All right, next up we have Consult the Spirits. Level 7 requires master. Again, it's not unique here. In fact, 3 of our magic skills can do it. Once per day, or once per hour if you're legendary, you make a check against a high DC for the level to consult spirits about the environment around you within 100 feet. On a crit success, they happily answer 3 questions, but only 1-word responses. Successes, it's 1 question. If you fail, nothing happens. If you crit fail, evil spirits or influence is going to arrive and give you false info to 3 questions. So be ready for that. All right. We're very close here. Quick Recognition. This is level 7, requires master, and for all the magic skills here. Once per round, you can use religion in this case to identify a spell as a free action. So if you're identifying spells a lot, free action is way better than reaction. Sacred Defense, level 7, requires master. This is 1 action. You have to have a deity, and this is religion specific. Once per hour, you can attempt a DC 30 religion check. On a crit success, you gain 10 temporary hit points for a minute. On a success, it's 5 for a minute, and on a crit fail, you can't try it again for a day. If you're legendary in religion, then the DC goes up to 40. The temp HP is 15 on a success, or 25 on a crit success. Then we have Divine Guidance. This is our final feat here. Level 15, legendary in religion. Basically, you think about a conundrum while deciphering religious texts for 10 minutes, and then make a religion check against the GM set DC. So GMs, think about what you want to do with this. If success, you get a passage or parable or something providing you guidance on the conundrum. So this is a very GM heavy and tied in thing, but for GMs, this is very fun. It's amazing if you've got somebody doing this. Just keep in mind that you're gonna have to be ready for this, but it can be a whole lot of fun to give direction this way. It's a very cool way to kind of interact with your deity. Religion shares a lot of feats and actions with other skills, but it does have some really cool and interesting feats that make it stand apart from things like Arcana or Occultism. And yeah, I think there's great stuff to take in here, honestly. The classes that might easily take advantage of religion, thanks to the primary ability score tied to it being wisdom, are clerics, druids, animists, key-focused monks, rangers maybe, if you're taking spells as a ranger. Lots of classes that can actually take advantage of it, but not as many as we see with like charisma. So just keep that in mind. It is solid though for several of these. Probably still want to have a deity you're tied to though for a lot of taking the feats here. The Animist, Champion, Cleric, Exemplar Oracle, Thaumaturge, Sorcerer, and Summoner, depending on choices of your summoned creature, of course, are trained in religion at level 1. It's a whole lot of classes that can have trained in religion for free. So for the GMs out there, there are a few older feats here that I feel could still be relevant, but they will need some updating. That one in particular was really tough with all the alignment, but it's fine, right? Again, they talked about good and evil. Switch that to holy and unholy, right? We've got the sanctifications. It's okay. We can still definitely do this stuff. Also keep in mind that if somebody takes divine guidance, and I know I leaned into when I talked about it, but if somebody does, yes, you're going to have some sort of cool scripture related answers to give them. It doesn't mean that you have to be overly creative. Just help the player out. Even if what you say doesn't sound like a parable, that's fine. It just means they're looking for some guidance from a deity. Give them the guidance. Maybe make it show up in words in the water or something, right? You have options here. Just make it fun and interesting because they sank a feat at high level into this to be able to communicate. All right, well, with that all being said, time for me to go gargle some holy water, and as always, adventure on.